Qatar and America are about to make a new boosted defense deal? What? Yes, it's true that Qatar and the United States are close to finalizing an apparently stronger, enhanced defense cooperation agreement. US Secretary of State Marco Rubio has publicly stated that the agreement is on the verge of completion, is just about to be finished during his visit to the region. And by region, I mean he visited Israel first. He went and prayed at the Western Wall and spoke to his buddies in the Knesset. He went to Israel, stood beside Netanyahu as Israeli Prime Minister. Netanyahu doubled down, essentially saying if the enemies of Israel are found in any other countries, Israel will take action in those countries. Diplomacy, decorum, banda. We don't rules don't apply to us like that. Don't be silly. Now, Rubio, Marco Rubio, or Lil Marco, as Trump used to call him before. Anyway, Rubio is in Qatar today. Now, the deal being discussed builds on existing ties, particularly centered around Qatar hosting the largest US military facility in the Middle East, right? Al Udeid Air Base. And the deal could involve additional purchases of billions in US military equipment by Qatar and expanded joint exercises. The boosted defense agreement is likely Qatar's attempt to ensure its own safety, especially after Israel attacked it last week. That was really hard for me to get through because it's just, that's the news, right? Now, here's the analysis. I know what you guys are thinking. I'm thinking the same thing. Mahfouz, are the Qataris nuts? Are they ghutras, the circle thing that they put on there? Are they a couple of sizes too small and it's causing pressure on the brain, leading to dubious decision making? Well, I'll explain the decisions the Qatari state has made. Before I do, I want to stress I'm just giving you the analysis. I'm not taking sides. I don't support or oppose these decisions in my analysis and reporting, these decisions being made by the Qatari state, but I want to explain them to you, right? I want you guys to understand before you decide to take any action or research further or be depressed or whatever, right? Now, Qatar is in a tough position. It got attacked by a US ally when Qatar thought that the US occupying, stationing the troops at Al Udeid airbase in Qatar meant that Qatar was safe. They thought we're safe, right? The US, the protector, is our protector, right? Turns out their master, their protector, their friend and ally, is selective in their protection. Qatar is on a defense package, right? Defense basic, right? Netflix subscription style. What they needed was Defense Plus, the next tier up, to get defense against Israel. The Qataris, they didn't know. So now they're getting their wallets out again. Sorry, we did not know that we need to be on Defense Plus Premium to get protection from Israel. ما في مشكلة, no problem. I got my checkbook. How much will it cost? That's the view of many citizens. That's the sort of impression many global citizens are getting. Their frustration is evident. Why is Qatar ponying up more money to the US? Why? When the US so clearly prioritizes Israel, so obviously let Qatar down, why would Qatar throw more money at them? Oh, you slapped me or prevented. I thought you were protecting me. I got slapped. So let me just pay you more money. So next time you protect me from another slap? Like, what the flip is going on here, right? That's the frustration and confusion amongst, I'm sure, many of you. Now, here's the answer. To understand the world as it is, not as you or I or anyone wants it to be. Better to understand the bitter truth than live on sweet lies. Here's the answer. Geostrategically, Qatar cannot afford any other option than to further cozy up to the US, or so the administration feels. I'll get to actually there are other options later on. It's like if you have a job, right? It pays the bills, but your manager is abusive from time to time, or they let their mate harm you from time to time and they do nothing. They look the other way. But there's no other company hiring in your area for what you do, and you have rent to pay and a family to feed. So your only option, by your assessment, is to cozy up to your manager further, bribe them. Buy more defense equipment from your manager. This analogy is getting a bit... Anyway, your only option is to cozy up more to your manager, get him to make more ironclad promises, right? Bulletproof promises that the next time your manager's mates come around, your manager will actually cover you, not leave you out in the cold to get abused. Now, it's not a reliable strategy because it relies heavily on you just trusting your manager, and they've already flopped They've got a track record of failing. But what are your options? You have bills to pay, right? You cannot afford to lose your job. You have a family to feed. Similarly, Qatar doesn't have an alternative, or so their administration feels. It's safer to keep your head down and your nose clean. They had their head down, to be fair, the Qataris, but still their hairs were sticking out. And when Israel did a sweep of the region, they cut off some of those hairs. So rather than stand up and punch back, which is the sort of immediate thought by the Qatari citizens, by and large, by citizens across the Muslim world, across the world globally, generally, that if you get punched, punch back or deter further punches with something strong by taking action. Well, rather than punch back or ask for help to punch back or call your new friends to stand beside you to deter further aggression, Qatar has decided instead, my head wasn't bowed down low enough. I need to bow down further, right? My head wasn't kept low enough. So that's why they cut some of my hairs. It's a demoralizing assessment, I understand, for many of you. But this is the reality. An ideal in analysis, not activism, where I call for what I desperately want or whatever. Now, Qatar relies heavily on the United States, and no immediate pivot away from the US is going to provide them with a guarantee as reliable as an apology from the US behind closed doors and a super duper pinky promise that the US will make sure another attack on Qatar is not conducted. They think that's the most reliable option, next steps after Israel attacked them. That's the administration's view. I'm not saying it's a fact that Qatar has no other options, but the administration feels they have no other options, and that's what's important, what the administration feels, because that's what's going to end up causing some action. Of course, to get back to my analogy, there is an alternative. You quit your job from your abusive manager, right? You get innovative, creative, you work hard, and you come out with new job offers, or you strike out by yourself and just start a business. That option is riskier, no question, no doubt. The potential wins are greater. Qatari autonomy, strong sovereignty, leverage, not over reliance on the US or any other state, because maybe you can develop your own defense sector. Your sovereign wealth is invested in something that doesn't mean that you can't stand up to bullying or poor allied actions. No, you have that independence. That's the potential high rewards. But the potential losses, if things go sideways, are even higher as well. What if Qatar moves to pivot east, but Saudi Arabia, Bahrain, and the others aren't willing? And the US demonizes Qatar in the eyes of the Americans, and Israel uses the opportunity to carry out more strikes, and Qatar is left completely abandoned. Let's say China, Iran, they say, no, I can't get into this now. I prioritize my own country and de-escalation. I can't help you, against that nutter military state over there, because then they might turn to me. Maybe they all leave Qatar to it, and now Qatar is just like caught in the cold by itself, alone, isolated in uncharted territory. Remember, this is not Iran, who for 50 years has been outside America's sphere of influence and has had to fight back against or resist the bullying, the regime change operations, and the propaganda. It's not like that. Qatar has been under America's umbrella for decades. Is the equivalent, analogically, is that a word? Yeah, sure. Is the equivalent of being like an office worker for 20 years and then suddenly facing the prospect of having to quit your job and start your own business. Is jarring. It's terrifying. And for some, it's just too much. They're not willing to make that jump. It requires courage, bravery, you could say, an appetite. Practically speaking, it requires an appetite for a high risk, high reward gambit. And Qatar is not that guy. The administration is not doing that. It's erring on the side of stability and what they think is a more reliable trajectory to be on. Not high risk, not high reward. I just want to survive. So Qatar has, for now, for better or worse, chosen the safe, subservient option. Cozy up to the US more and hope and pray that Big Daddy, should Israel come knocking again, hope and pray that Big Daddy will not look the other way. For the unbiased news and analysis without the Western spin, I'm Mahfuz, and I'll see you on the next one.